or if Jesus was to come back now, do you think there's anybody has not heard it? I mean, we hear it all the time. I mean, we sit on billboards, Jesus is coming back October 22nd. Somebody's always predicting. So everybody in the world, saved or unsaved, knows that somebody is saying that Jesus is going to come back. Whether they want to believe it or not, that's beside the point. Everyone would know. This was not a drop call like we have encountered with our cell phones. We hear a message, and as we go, it drops from the cell phone. We don't get the message because it drops off the line. But a message from the Lord which was loud and clear. In short, the prophecy of judgment was not cloaked in mystery or doubt, but was one that was to be known by everyone in the northern kingdom. God wanted to make sure that every single person knew. Why? Because when the prophecy was fulfilled, they would understand that it was clearly from the Lord. For only the Lord can tell the future, because only the Lord controls the future. Well, Ephraim was the largest and most influential tribe in northern kingdom of Israel. Well, they were so big and so powerful that pride and arrogance of heart began to filtrate themselves. All the people of Ephraim had heard and understand, but they continued to indulge in their pride and their self-security. This was the condition of the people's heart, and it set the stage for the words they spoke in verse 10. Pride. Full of pride. It's an interesting Hebrew word which means in some contexts and describes the violent agitation of a body of water, as in Psalm 46:3. In other contexts, it means majesty, loftiness of God, but which usually signifies pride, loftiness of self. So we have a lot of pride in God. In this case, it means we have a lot of pride in ourselves. The heart condition is that we're so arrogant and we're so conceited in our own self-sufficiency. Arrogancy means greatness in terms of size, of divine power, divine dignity, of divine majesty, of divine mercy, of all the false greatness or bravado of the heart. They had pride, and they were proud, and they were swelling with pride. Look what we have. Look what we're doing. We are well off. We have nothing to worry about. We have self-sustained our own self. We don't need God. We don't need to obey God. Well, the spirit of Moab in Isaiah 16:6, not to be beholden to any superficial blend of self-sufficiency. The heart is an organ of thought, feeling and responding, and is coupled here with pride and arrogance to depict one who is stubbornly backed in his own, he backs up his own judgment, trusts in his own responses, depends on his own resources, and put his own policy to work. He's all about himself. I can do this. I don't need God. I don't need His instructions. I don't need to obey Him. I'm self-sufficient. I've got a good job, got a good wife, got a good children, got a good home. I live in a great country. I have a good business. Everything is well. I'm doing wonderful. Man, this is great. Who needs God? Well, they became pretty arrogant. It behooved all of us to be high alert for this subtle rise of pride in our hearts, because God is always forced to oppose such an attitude. I don't know what would happen if this church, if there was church split somewhere in the community, and let's say there's a church split in the community, in Rubyville Community Church, and one Sunday, 200 of them showed up in our church. Oh, man, this is really great. You know, if God lets your church be built on splits, don't take pride in it. Maybe God wanted them out of that church and send them to your church. I was so disappointed that the young pastor at Madison Baptist Church resigned his church. And he went over to Shiny Hills. That just hurt my feelings. Now, why, I don't know him, so why should he come here? I don't know. Maybe the Lord said he'd be puffed up with pride. He has somebody else come to church. You know, you got to be careful with that. So God doesn't. When we get puffed up at what we think we're doing, you know, James writes that God gives greater grace. Therefore, it says God is opposed. He's against the one who rises up and resists and opposes God and what He has to say. Well, anyway, proud, haughtiness, inflated opinion of yourself. But God gives grace to the humble. James chapter 4 and verse 6. Well, so the heart, it refers not only to his intellectual per se only, but in Hebrew speak of that which rules one's very being. The heart is that which rules what you think. I hear people say, I'm going to do it anyway. This is what I think. This is what I believe. And this is what I'm going to do. You can talk to your little face, and you do. But I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, the way I'm doing it, and you go right ahead. I'm not going to get mad at you if you say that as a pastor, but you just keep on, I'll just keep on doing it. And that's the way Israel was. Israel was said by Isaiah, come down off your high horse, recognize you need to listen to the words of God, and if you don't, my words are going to be coming down on you. They're going to chop you down. And not, well, the Lord hasn't done anything to me yet. Well, this is only May. It may take 10 years. Things may go well for a year. Things may go well in May and June and July and August. September's coming. If God puts a word on you, it is going to accomplish what He said it was going to do. And His job is to get you back. If you are a Christian, if you are a believer, God doesn't want to hew you down and knock you off. He wants to bring you to where you'll get back with God. And He's pretty patient with that. Notice it says, watch over your heart with all diligence. Watching, taking spiritual, a cheerful readiness. Why is guarding one's heart so critical in our spiritual lives? For from it flows the spring of life. Proverbs 4:23. Serena, Proverbs 4:23. Why is guarding our hearts so critical in our spiritual lives? For from it flows the spring of life. Proverbs 4:23.
Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life.
The depth of our being is keeping our heart right. Our heart can be given to anybody. We can give our heart to a cat. We can give our heart to a dog, and we'll do everything in order for that dog. There are some people who leave their all inheritance to their little cat. By crying out loud. If you give me $1 million to keep that cat, believe me, I'll keep that cat in a beautiful home. I'll drive him in a beautiful car. I'll take him out in a beautiful I'll dress him up in a beautiful suit. I'll take him to the most wonderful places to eat. I'll go along with him. You know, man, I'll do that. You know? People do that all the time, don't they?
Yep.
I mean, they give their heart to silly things. I wish I was a recipient of that. That's the only time I'd ever keep a cat. No other time. Notice verse 10. The bricks have fallen down. Here it goes. The bricks have fallen down, but we will rebuild with smooth stones. The sycamore have been cut down, but we will replace them with cedar. That's not in your notes, is that? I think that's out of New American Standard.
Yeah.
Okay, which is all right. Where's verse 10? And that happens a lot. Here's what they say. The very words of the self-confident people are now recorded. Instead of being warned and instructed by what they had already suffered. Isn't it amazing when 9/11 took place? What happened in 9/11 in America?
Well, air run into the Twin Towers.
Dummy.
Well, people turned back to God for a little bit.
Sorry, Bill, I was just teasing.
For a little
Yeah.
bit, they prayed. They were kind to one another. They spoke to each other on the streets of New York, and you know, they bonded at that time. I think everybody realized they were all Americans at that time.
And some of the churches pulled together.
Yeah.
There was no policy making in the White House. Everybody pulled together.
And shortly after that,
And shortly thereafter, and then there was the
politically correctness set in.
and there was a crash. There was a flood in New Orleans,
Yeah.
wiped out the business district of New Orleans. Then there was the Boston Marathon,
Yeah.
There was the New York.
the New York,
The
Yeah.
flood and storms.
the floods and the storms, and wiped out a whole island. And here's what they all say: we are going to do this better the next time. We are going to build bigger things out of better things. And I was thinking with this New Orleans thing, if God had His hand in it, what did He destroy? He destroyed the business district.
Yeah.
The worst district in all of the world, not all of the world, but you know, with the gambling and casinos, they said, we will come back bigger and better.
He'll come back bigger and better.
Yeah.
They just, and we've gone through this, and we've gone through this, and we've gone through this, and people are so arrogant. These people in Israel had suffered for years. They presumptuously looked for greater prosperity than ever. The Oriental bricks are unbustable, so that most of their brick structures are as little durable as mud walls. The sycamore is durable, but too light and spongy to be used in solid buildings. The latter, according to contrast with the cedar, and the former with the hewstone, stone, the two most likely valued building materials. So they're going to bind both of them together and make some strong buildings. The bricks have fallen down. This means that Israel had fallen under the destruction of God through their pride and arrogance. But we will rebuild with smooth stones. But we will replace them with cedar. Sin and pride is the height of sin, is deceitful. Hebrews 3:13. What happened to Jimmy? 3:13. 3:13. Lois, not Lois, but I know your name. Janet. And so here we see a but.
What did you say?
Hebrews 3:13. So the bricks come falling down, But, they said,
But exhort one another daily, while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of Satan.
aren't we so blind
Yep.
to spiritual matters? You can't get people to see things for a moment or two. I mean, some people through emotions will make a decision that will last about 5 days. And one of my 3 sermons that comes to my mind is, here's what they do. They make a commitment to be more spiritual, so they start going to church. They go to church one Sunday and nothing happens, so they quit.